Namaste everyone and welcome to Om Incense Show with DJ, a show that helps you increase your incense quotient. So if you are an incense enthusiast, consider subscribing. So let's read about perfumery in ancient India. This is an article by Mrs. Radha Krishnamurthy, and this is a 9-page article, but I'll only be reading a few pages here. And before we go ahead, you might just want to treat this episode as a podcast and continue doing whatever you're doing at the moment while I give you company. So we have this article which talks about perfumes in ancient India, and why it's necessary is because many of these perfumes were also used in incenses as perfume. So it's important that we read about a few of these. So that's what we'll be reading today. So what it says is, man invented many ragas and raginis by blending the 7 notes to please his ears. He invented varieties of tasty dishes from grains and vegetables to gratify his tongue. A large number of beautiful specimens of sculpture from stones and wood and lovely paintings from colors were created to delight his eyes. Nose, the seat of olfactory sense, was also not neglected, and to enliven it, he invented varieties of perfumes by blending natural and synthetic substances. This was not an easy task, because while the other sense organs could be delighted with something concrete and easily perceptible things, he had to put effort to invent many methods to extract the subtle odoriferous elements from natural sources like roots, flowers, etc., and present them through a concrete medium or vehicle so that the enchanting odor could be retained and enjoyed longer. This necessitated the practice of perfumery as an art as well as a science, because the work of a perfume maker consists of proper blending of odoriferous substances, which requires artistic sensitivity as well as scientific knowledge. From time immemorial, India is well known for its scents and fragrant substances. Fragrant unguents were considered as accessories of beauty, and we get several references in ancient Sanskrit texts about their use by men and women. Kalpasutras refer to the use of perfumed substances. It is stated that friends and relatives of a brahmachari used to bring fragrant substances or sandalwood paste at the Samvardhan ceremony, which he applied to his body, and he washed himself with scented water boiled with herbs of all kinds. It is mentioned in the Griha Sutras that a fragrant substance known as sthagar was offered to snakes, and that special unguents were offered to snakes at the Shravan ceremony. Epics and other literary works are also replete with references to the practice of anointing the body with anulepan and angarag, prepared generally from the grass ushira, that is vetiver, and of chandan, sandal. Several other substances are also mentioned from which perfumed oils, unguents, etc. are produced. Kalayak, a plant producing essential oil, agaru, ingudi, chandana, kumkuma, kasturi, etc. are the popular substances from which perfumes were prepared. Even substances like manashila, that is realgar, harital, orpiment, and manjishtha, madder, are referred as sources of fragrant essences. concrete illustration of the art of toilet is found in Vatsyayan's description of Nagaraka, which makes it clear that use of perfumes and scents had become the daily routine of fashionable citizens of ancient India. The mention of Phenaka in the text tells us that ancient Indians knew the manufacture of fragrant soaps also. Kautilya mentions the trade of high-priced fragrant wood like chandan and its varieties and agaru and its varieties smelling like Navamallika. He also mentions Tailaparnika trees whose wood yield essential oils for preparing perfumes such as Ashok Gramika, Jongaka, Grameruka, etc. Kautilya has further described Tailaparnika substances as having lasting smell, no matter whether they are made into a paste, boiled, or burnt. From all these references, it is clear that people were manufacturing scents and perfumes in a scientific manner, and that perfumery was flourishing and was also encouraged as an important trade and industry. Perfumed articles of India formed an important item of export also. The term perfume in English gains its name from the fact that in its original form it was incense in the Egyptian temples, perfumer, to fill with smoke. But a perfume may be defined as any mixture of pleasantly odorous substances incorporated in a suitable vehicle. The earliest Sanskrit text, which offers rich material related to the scientific manufacture of perfumed articles in Brihat Samhita of Varahmihir, different types of perfumed articles, their natural sources, methods of preparation, etc., have been treated in this text under the heading Gandhayukti, a term which stands for the art and science of cosmetics and perfumery. The words Gandhayuktigya and the Gandhayuktivida were also prevalent in those days, which proves that a specialized class of artisans had taken to the manufacture of and trade in cosmetics for their occupation. The word Gandhayukti literally means a combination of perfumes. The chemical art of perfumery, Gandhayukti, is mentioned in Somavaya's Sutra also. Vatsyayan refers to this as one of the 64 auxiliary arts connected with Kamashastra. The scientific art is dealt with in other texts also, like Sharingadhara Paddhati, Agni Purana, Manasollas of King Someshwar, and Gandhasar of Gangadhar. Keladi Basavaraja, etc., of 17th century AD has included an elaborate treatment of this scientific subject in his voluminous treatise Shiva Tattva Ratnakar, which is a veritable source of information relating to the knowledge of sciences like chemistry, metallurgy, etc. Different kinds of perfumed products and the methods of preparation thereof, as given in texts like BS and STR, would now be discussed briefly, based on which it will be established that perfumery had developed as a science in ancient India, and that our country has contributed nothing less to this branch of science, which now has reached a very advanced stage. And then they talk about perfumed oils. Then they mention of unguents are there. We have compound perfumes. And we have, so she's also mentioned a lot of, the kind of incense ingredients that were synthetically made those days. So we talk of white camphor here. So what she says is STR gives the process of obtaining white camphor. Bulbous root of Sigru, Moinga pterosperma, pterygosperma should be washed well and made into fine powder and then mixed with wet black pepper. Ancola, that is Allium salvifolium, and Phala, myrobalan, each weighing half a kasa. Seems to be some kind of measurement that was used during those days. This mixture should be placed in a vessel which should be clean, soft, and devoid of any smell, and then heated. This will yield camphor pieces as precipitates resembling pieces of moon. The same text gives the method of softening flower petals like that of Ketaki and Mallika. Ketaki petals be smeared with Devadali, Phala, Agasti, Madhuyashti, Sutankana, and pure honey and placed in a vessel heated or held in the scorching sunlight will get softened and liquefied. So this is what they did with flowers, and probably this is what the perfume that came out of those flowers were used. So I think it's something, seems like a process of enfleurage with a little twist to it that they used during those days. Then there's mention of flavors also. And then what she says in the conclusion is, a study of these chapters dealing with perfumery in the above texts, and particularly in STR and BS, gives us a picture of the gradual development in the process and techniques of manufacturing perfumes. The early incenses were merely mixtures of finely ground aromatic ingredients held together by myrrh, storax, or jaggery. And she also mentions it's in the brackets it says aromatic resinous substances. The next advance is also clearly seen, the discovery that if spices and flowers were steeped in oil or fat, the oil or fat would retain a portion of the odoriferous principle. So this is like infusing the oil with aroma of natural substances. It is clearly seen from the above discussion that this method was adopted in the preparation of fragrant ointments, unguents, and oils. From the recipes given for artificial imitation of natural flower scents such as the essence of Bakula, Utpal, Champaka, etc. in BS and STR, that is Brihat Samhita and Shiv Tattva Ratnakar. It is clear that manufacture of synthetic scents were popular even in the past. The methods given for making a large number of compound scents by arranging them in a sort of scale according to the proportions of certain basic scents reveal the fact that perfume makers were clever and judicious in introducing a large number of notes of fragrances. Practically all the products used in ancient Indian perfumery were of natural origin. The aromatic ingredients were in the form of leaves, flowers, fruits, barks, woods, roots, exudations from plants, and organic products like musk, lac, and civet. If we carefully go through the lines of the above texts which describe the preparation of various perfumed substances, we come across the following terms which imply the various chemical processes employed in perfume manufacturing. Brihat Samhita mentions Pakwa, that is decoction, Tapla, that's heating, Samyuta is mixing, Pradhupa or Dhupya, that is fumigation, Sikta is sprinkling, Bodha is combination of powders, Veda is blending of one liquid with other, Dravya Sanskar is purification of ingredients, and Bhavana is saturation of a powder with a liquid. Gangadhar in Gandhasar mentions 6 processes of treatment of ingredients. A few other works also mention 8 processes, whereas Shiv Tattva Ratnakar mentions 5 methods of treatments of oil seeds, that is Mardana, Svedana, Lepana, Dhupana, and Vasana. It may be noted that even though these texts have said nothing about the scientific apparatus with which these processes were carried out, it is obvious that they were used in those days in works like Rasratnasamuchya, give details of apparatus like Koshti apparatus, Swadeshi Yantram, Swedani Yantram, and so on. According to the modern science of perfumery, the constituents of perfume are threefold, that is, the vehicle or solvent, the fixative, and the odoriferous elements. And then she goes on to talk about the vehicles or solvents. So it says in ancient texts we do not come across the mention of alcohol as the vehicle, but in most perfumes, sesame oil is used as the vehicle, which, though not very volatile, spreads when applied on the skin or cloth and retains the perfume longer and leaves a cooling effect on the body, unlike alcohol. When she talks of fixatives, she says ancient Indians knew the importance of fixatives also, though they have not specifically mentioned their purpose. They may or may not contribute to the odor of the finished product, but if they do, they must blend with and complement the main fragrance. In many of the unguents, incenses, etc., mentioned in the above texts, we find the use of animal secretions like musk, civet, lac, etc. Resinous products like agaru, hingu, etc. were also used to act as fixatives. So agaru is oud and hingu is asafoetida. Many essential oils such as oils of ushira, that is vetiver, chandan, tagar, etc. were used perhaps as fixatives. Chandan was of course very widely used as fixative. Though the use of synthetic chemicals are not mentioned, the use of samudra fena, etc. suggests that chemicals were also used but from natural sources. So samudra fena, I guess, is ambergris, the thing that is found in the oceans. I think that's what she means. From the above discussion, it becomes clear that our ancients were judicious in selecting and combining proper fixatives with the solvents or vehicles in perfume manufacture. And then she talks about odoriferous elements. The odorous substances used in perfumery are generally the essential oils. And then she says, an essential oil is a volatile odoriferous oil of vegetable origin. They are found in buds, flowers, leaves, barks, stems, fruits, seeds, wood, roots, and exudates of trees. Though any definite method of recovering essential oils is not mentioned in the texts, the methods given of softening and liquefying flower petals like those of Ketaki and jasmine indicate that our ancients had adopted some scientific methods of recovering essential oil from plants. For example, the mention of chandana suggests that use of its essential oil from its wood. Mention of twak suggests the use of the essential oil of cinnamon from its bark. Though it is proved beyond doubt that our people had given thought to all the three constituents of perfume, vehicle, fixative, and odoriferous element. From the aforesaid discussion, it is clear that perfumery was practiced on scientific basis in ancient India. I don't know why she hasn't mentioned anything about the essential oil manufacturing processes in India, which is very clearly given in Gandhasar and Gandhavad texts. I'm not sure why she hasn't mentioned it, but like the two texts that I said have very clearly mentioned about essential oils manufacture, and there's a lot of mention of incenses in those texts also. So that was the podcast for today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It's so hot here. I have not been able to go out to get the incenses to be reviewed here. I hope to go to the market very soon and get some incenses till then. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and you learned something from it. Till we meet again next, take very good care of yourself. Namaste.